welcome to the world as we see it. Uh, Welcome to you if this is your first visit to us in this transmission, and welcome back if you've seen us before. My name is Lloyd Hobart Mitchell, and I am an ordinand with the St George's congregation here in Pattaya in Thailand. Now, my formation, the training I'm going through to help me become a priest, is being overseen by Father David Price, who is the chaplain of St George's congregation, and also, by the way, the organ player. So whenever you hear organ music on this channel, you know that that's actually Father David who's playing those incredible tunes. The formation, I should also state, is supported by and actually, enhanced by the input of Father Tom McCusker, who is the former chaplain of St George's, and he also plays a regular part in meeting with not just me but also the other ordinand, Zach Story. So between both of them, Father David and Father Tom, we are in very safe hands. Now, to supplement the input that they are giving us, the in context input that we get from them, I'm also completing an online ministry course with Sarum College, and very good it is too. More on that, no doubt, another time. Today, what we are going to be talking about is Holy Week. We don't have a homily from Sunday's service, which was Palm Sunday, for obvious reasons. For anyone who knows, the traditional service of Palm Sunday, you will know that actually the gospel speaks for itself. It's a very, very serious, somber, um, incredibly, actually, a very powerful gospel, isn't it? I left there really thinking, reflecting how horrendous human beings can be to one another, um, and that really played out on Sunday. Um, and I suppose I'm also influenced there by what's going on in Ukraine, and having read about the abhorrent claims that, and when I say claims, I don't mean to suggest in any way, shape, or form that they are, uh, you know, unworthy or untrue. I mean they are evidenced claims that as the um, as the Russian troops have been uh, moving back on some fronts, actually as they go, they've been uh, using the crime of rape as a war crime against the people, which historically has context with Russia, um, and really was one of the things which resulted in the Geneva Convention being written. It's something which really shouldn't, in a modern war, shouldn't be happening. It's an outrage. But that's one thing that I suppose I reflected on that as well, um, when reading about the dreadful treatment that Jesus received at the hands of his captors. Horrendous, horrendous. Now, Holy Week is, I mean, it is the most important week for Christians. It's the most sacred week in the liturgical year. Um, it does depend, of course, on which Christian belief system that you follow. Um, but for most, it will include uh, and I'm going to go through these to make sure that I don't make an error. We've obviously had Palm Sunday, um, which is the celebrations of Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, um, observed with palm branches, parades, and celebrations. And for many, that's what they that's it. I remember as a child, and I know I've spoken to you about this a couple of times. We were in Malta many years ago and happened to be there for Palm Sunday, and we went to Valletta, um, the capital of Malta, and the parades were quite incredible. The processions with statues, and also I remember with various. I mean, I don't want to. I'm sure I'm going to get this wrong, but there were uh, various mummified. Uh, they looked like bishops or priests. I'm not sure, but they were brought out in these kind of glass caskets and paraded around the streets. I remember as a child, uh, and it was a little bit macabre for me, but it was also rather extraordinary. Um, I remember also. I reflect on. Uh, I remember when St Thomas's Church in the little suburb of London where I grew up received its relic, and actually it was a small box they received, um, of St Thomas, and now I don't know what was inside because I was a child, but I remember that happening. And so then, not long after that, when we went to Malta, and there were these I say mummified. I don't know whether that's a fair description, but these remains, which are on display of folk who have obviously died several hundred years ago, it was a bit shocking because it was so uh, in your face, and you know couldn't be denied. There it was. Um, but that left a very deep impression upon me, and we all came away with our palms, as we did this Sunday. We left church with our palms, and Father David was very clear that next year we will be observing the tradition of returning the palms to church, in order that they will be burned for the ashes for Ash Wednesday, which I think is wonderful. If we can start to observe more and more of these things, which in many parishes around the world this would be normal, but for us, I think maybe it probably hasn't been done for a while. Um, so now we've got there are various um, names for every single day of the week, but for most, when I've been looking, for most of the Passion Week, uh, really we tend to focus on the um, on the Palm Sunday, and then jump straight to Maundy Thursday. And Maundy Thursday is the Thursday before Easter and commemorates the Last Supper. And it's often observed with foot washing, um, a stripping of the altar, and overnight prayer vigils to keep watch with Jesus in the garden. Now, I know last year Father David did observe the tradition of Maundy Thursday with the washing of feet. I'm not sure whether there's anything planned for that this week. I don't think there is, but I'm not sure. Um, but traditionally, that's, I think, a great opportunity for servants in the church to observe this process of washing the feet. Um, and I think what it does is it reinforces humility and humbleness. I think it's a very good practice, a very good tradition, um, and I think really we should be doing it. It should be. I suppose I wish that that aspect, the Maundy Thursday of the foot washing, could somehow be extended a bit more into the community. I know some churches in the UK do take that as an opportunity to go to high streets and shopping centres to have a stand about their own parish church and maybe even to clean shoes. Um, and that's a twist on it. It does at least get it into the public consciousness, and so I think there is merit there. Um, where we are here in Thailand, I'm not sure. Um, and certainly, I think in terms of cleaning shoes, that wouldn't work since most people here tend to wear flip flops. So we're either washing feet or you're not washing feet. There aren't really any shoes to be cleaned. But it's an interesting thought how we might be able in the future to do something around that in the community. Now, Good Friday, it is the Friday before Easter. It's the most solemn day of the church year, observed. It observes the day that Jesus was crucified, and it is observed by praying the Stations of the Cross and 3 hours of silent prayer whilst Jesus was on the cross. Now, for anyone, and there may be some, who don't know what that means by the Stations of the Cross, there are a number of traditional ways that these Stations of the Cross are displayed. Very often in some old churches, you will find the Stations of the Cross in relief on the walls around churches, and they are. It's very again in Malta. It's something which I saw in every church we went to. So you see, there are 14 um, stations, right? And they are, and I'll tell you about them because it's the horrific story of how Jesus was treated. And I think it's very important because this is an interesting notion when we speak about Jesus, the human, God on earth, God in human form. So it it's incredible how he was, and maybe with historical context, it's not incredible. Maybe given the historical context, um, you know, I think what makes it incredible and horrendous is the fact that he had, as far as anyone there at the time was concerned, the people judging him or whose job it was to judge him, they could find no wrong. So that means that, by equivalence, today it would be a person, being arrested by the police and the police saying, we're not really sure why we arrested him. And then going to court and the court saying, well, there's no real case to answer. And then politicians getting involved saying, well, we're not sure why we need to do this. And the people demanding that he die. And really, it wasn't the people in general. It was it would be a lobbying group, a group who really were, I suppose, looking at their own power, looking at how Jesus was speaking a truth which removed from them a level of authority, power, and wealth which they had up until that point enjoyed without question. Um, but there are 14 levels, there are 14 stations of the cross, and the first one is where Jesus is condemned to death. The second station, he is made to bear his cross. The third station, he falls for the first time. The fourth station, he meets his mother. The fifth station, Simon of Cyrene is made to bear the cross. The sixth station, Veronica wipes Jesus' face. The seventh station, he falls the second time. The eighth station, the women of Jerusalem weep over Jesus. The ninth station, he falls the third time. The 10th, he is stripped of his garments. The 11th station of the cross, he is nailed to the cross. The 12th station, he dies on the cross. The 13th station, he is taken down from the cross. And the 14th station, he is placed in the sepulchre. And these stations are normally mounted on the inside walls of churches or chapels, but they may also be erected in places like cemeteries or corridors of hospitals or even religious houses. Or if you're going on pilgrimages, for example, you might find the stations of the cross on certain parts, displayed on certain parts of a pilgrimage. And they are incredibly powerful and very often used by folk to pray at each one of them. And you find, I've been to some churches where in front of each of these stations there is somewhere to kneel and pray. So yes, that's something that's on Good Friday. People pray the stations of the cross and the 3 hours of silent prayer whilst Jesus was on the cross. Now that's followed by Holy Saturday. And that's the Saturday before Easter, and it observes the day Jesus was in the tomb. And this is also a day of somber reflection. Reflecting on what we would miss in the world without Jesus. Now, of course, we know what's going to happen. But imagine those disciples. Imagine, this thing, this movement, which Jesus had inspired, and suddenly he was gone. They were without, and they must have felt incredibly empty and pointless, and their purpose as they knew it had gone. I think they probably would be in denial. It's safe to say that they would be certainly within that grieving process. There would be feelings and there would be denial, and shock, just utter bewilderment, utter shock. Um, and I think, in terms of us trying to empathize, really, that's a very easy way for us to empathize. For anyone who's lost a parent, I think they would be very able to understand uh, how that feels. Um, and not just a parent, any, a loved one. Um, it's a death, it's a bereavement. And this was a massive bereavement. It was like no other, none seen before at any time in history. So it's almost beyond our level of understanding how they would have felt. But we can try, can't we? And that's what Holy Saturday is all about. It's about reflecting on that, about the unimaginable loss. And I suppose that allows us to also think about the difference that Jesus makes to our own lives, globally and also individually. And that's probably something which can only be done, um, in terms of reflection, in terms of thought, on an individual basis, because for different people, Jesus does represent different things, and different folk have different relationships through Jesus with God, and that's amazing. So, although it's a somber day, a day of loss, a day of without, um, that can be countered because it's a recognition of the difference. And then that brings us very nicely to Easter Sunday, and we are then able to say certain words. We are able to celebrate that Christ will have risen, and on Easter Sunday we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, and we sing specific songs which have words which have been removed from all other hymns. And it doesn't matter whether, my understanding is that for those of us who sing hymns, we have certain words which have been removed for the whole period of Lent. And my understanding is that those churches who use worship songs also have those words removed. And so I think the whole point of the Easter Sunday is one where it's an absolute celebration, isn't it? It's an absolute victory of light over darkness. It's the ultimate, really, the pinnacle. So when all had been lost on Holy Saturday, come Easter Sunday, there is a new reality, there is a new world, and we can all take part in that. And it's something which, as part of the Sunday liturgy, we say anyway, don't we? So Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. And it's something we're reminded of every Sunday through the year. But nevertheless, this is it. The whole journey through the year takes us to Easter Sunday, and that's the point. You know, that's one of my old friends is very keen on the phrase "therein lies the rub," and I think that's the phrase. I think, you know, there there are no other questions. There's nothing else we need to. I mean, we can read lots and lots about all manner of different aspects of faith, but the journey, that journey of life and death and life again, um, is really all we is. That's the point. That's the point of our faith, isn't it? That's why we are Christians. Um, so yes, it's we've started Holy Week, and we will be continuing Holy Week um, until after next, well, until the end of Sunday, um, next Sunday. So um, that pretty much is a summary of what the Holy Week is all about. For any of you who didn't realise that, then I hope it's been helpful and educational. I hope if you're inspired to learn more about Holy Week that you do, because I think it's a wonderful thing that now you can, irrespective of where you are, you can take part in Holy Week. I would encourage you, of course, to go to a local church. I would encourage you to find your local church and join in with them, because I think the experience of doing that is second to none. But if you can't, for whatever reason, maybe it's to do with mobility, maybe it's to do with access to transport, maybe it's to do with COVID restrictions. We don't know. I don't know where you are, where you're living. But for whatever reason, if you can't get involved, then what you can do is next Sunday, 3 p.m. Bangkok time. I don't know what time that is with you, but the time is 3 p.m. in Bangkok in Thailand. We start our Easter Sunday service, and you are very welcome to join us. I hope you do. I know that the standard of our service is high, and a lot of work goes into ensuring the quality of the service which is provided to the local parish here, and it's available freely for you to worship with us. Now, of course, it's something which does cost money, and I think it's not wrong to include a little appeal to say, if you are minded, then please do get in touch to see how you might be able to help us to pay for the chapel, because that's the thing we don't have the money for. We are paying a rent on a weekly basis, and unfortunately what's raised in the offertory bowl doesn't cover those costs. So the services which we are streaming, which we know more than 100 people per week will view, unfortunately they are coming to the cost, and that means, because we don't have the funds within the church, it does mean that there are certain things going on this week which we are not observing. So we're not having any services on Good Friday or on Saturday, but we are, of course, having the principal service on Easter Sunday. So if you could, then please do get in touch. You've got all of our contact details scrolling above my head throughout this transmission, and I know hopefully, I know this has been a bit strange. It's been a bit different from our usual format, but that's because we didn't have a homily. And normally we like to read the homily on a Tuesday and go through it and try and see, is there anything which I can kind of, is there anything which resonates, or is there anything which I don't agree with Father David? I mean, to date there hasn't really been anything. I think there's not been anything at all, which has been a little bit disappointing. I did want there to be, I don't know why, just so that we could have some more conversation, I suppose, for the sake of conversation. Let's just have a little bit of discord, in order that we might say, okay, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? And see where it lies. The truth is, Father David's logic and reason is, well, it's not unquestionable, but certainly I haven't found an area which I don't agree with yet. But I will keep trying, and it's good fun. So look, you've been very welcome to join me today. What we will do, I think we will shift now to our prayers, as we do during every transmission, and we will start with the Lord's Prayer. Now, I know for some of you, you maybe haven't prayed for some time. I know that for some of you, you might think, oh, if they're praying, I'm not going to stick around. Well, do stick around. Do stay with us for the prayers, because they are important, and it does allow you to reflect and to bring your own concerns to God. So use this time, and join us if you want. Let us pray with confidence to the Father, as our Saviour has taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. True and humble King, hailed by the crowd as Messiah, grant us the faith to know you and love you, that we may be found beside you on the way of the cross, which is the path of glory. Amen. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you so much for taking the time to accompany me along this step of my journey on the road to ordination. I should say a special thanks to Father David and Nasir Gill, also Ellie and Heidi Cooper, who have also liked the transmission today. So thank you all for being part of today's transmission. Actually, it's because of you all that really we do it, because there are people there. We're not shouting into the distance with no one watching, no one listening. There are always people there, and it's because of you that we are motivated to continue, I suppose. I do apologise for starting a few minutes late today. Unfortunately, the streaming software had to be updated, and that was unavoidable. and unforeseen by me. I didn't realise there was another update, but there we are. This is life. So I will, as I normally do, say with prayers and best wishes, bye-bye for now.